Hello everyone. So as promised, we're going to talk about Antinol. Now Antinol has been on the market for a while overseas, and here in Australia it's recently had a trial. Lots of my clients were actually part of that trial, so I've had the opportunity to see how dogs have gone through their process. Now this little bottle has these tiny little capsules, and let me show you what they look like. They're tiny. Okay, so they're very easy to hide in food, and you shouldn't have any issues there as well. So what is Antinol? So Antinol is green lip mussel from New Zealand. So what's different about green lip mussel with this Antinol versus green lip powder that you can already get, or maybe the green lip mussels that you can get from the store? Well, they have a patented extraction and stabilization process that makes this pretty kick-ass. Let's have a look at some of the comparisons against some of the other oils and treatments that you would typically implement for dogs with arthritis. Okay, so flaxseed oil. This is 200 times more potent. Salmon oil, 175 times more potent than salmon oil. EPO, so evening primrose oil, Antinol is 175 times more potent. And green lip mussel powder, so this is green lip, and it is 175 times more potent than regular green lip mussel powder. So that's pretty massive, right? Okay. Now, you can get this from most vets. If you are unable to get it from your vet, I will put some details in this video where you can obtain it somewhere else, and I'll also include the prices, and they can also post it to you as well. All right. Okay, so what's so great about Antinol? Well, the results really do speak for themselves, and I'm going to take you through in just a moment one of my clients that we've really monitored through this progress, and I think it's less than a month from when I first saw him to get a baseline, and then the time that he had actually been on Antinol. It was pretty impressive. All right. There are no side effects for long-term use, so that's the best news so far, right? So we always worry when we're providing some sort of medication for arthritis, what's it doing to the organs? Well, so far this green lip mussel extract that is highly potent isn't actually doing any damage that we know of so far. There are no contraindications, and what that means is that as far as they're concerned, it can be used with existing medications such as cartrophin and non-steroidal steroidal anti-inflammatories. There are decades of peer-reviewed research that backs up Antinol, okay? It's free from contaminants, so when we're talking about a seafood such as green lip mussel, people can get concerned about toxins, heavy metals and things like that, and this is clear from that, okay? So it's clear from heavy metals, toxins and pesticides as well. Now it's all lipids, lipids being an oil, and there is no seafood protein in here at all. So if your dog has some sensitivities towards some seafood, you don't have to be concerned here. All right, so let's talk about one of the clients that I monitored that's been using Antinol. Now their owner is a vet nurse, so quite savvy in understanding the movement challenges and progress of her dog as well, so it's been great to get their feedback. Now the dog in question is an older Border Collie, and he's been doing Flyball for a long time, so he's been an athlete. So just like a human athlete, they're going to have some challenges as well as they get older. Alright, so what we noticed when we did the baseline testing was there were restriction and swelling throughout his toes. So pretty much all his toes had restriction there, okay? He didn't want to weight bear on his left limb, so when you lifted up his right hind limb, he really didn't want to weight bear on the left, and he would actually collapse to prevent him having to actually weight bear on that left limb. Poor wrist flexion, so when you actually flex the wrists, they don't want to flex at all. And when you extend the left knee and also flex it, there's a lot of crunchiness there. Very sore lower back. This was becoming a lot worse as time was going on, as he was getting older. You just had to lightly press down his back, and there would be spasms and very obvious discomfort there as well. and his glutes are really, really sore. And you tend to find this because they tend to start using different muscles to try and, you know, protect different parts of their body and take the weight off and pressure off from the areas that are actually sore. So what did we see when we actually saw him a short time later, within a month? So there was no swelling that we could see actually on the toes. The thermal imaging images, which I will share as well, still showed a little bit of activity happening there, but from the visual aspect, what we could see just by looking at the dog's toes, we couldn't actually see that swelling. The toes moved, they were starting to move. That was really exciting. It seems the first time I touched that dog with the second time I saw him, and actually just feeling his toes move, I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. The weight bearing issue on the left hind limb, when I picked up his right hind limb this time, he just held it. He didn't care, he didn't collapse, he didn't weight shift, he was very happy to weight bear on his left hind limb. Poor wrist flexion, we didn't actually see any improvement on the wrist flexion. I don't know for the dog if he has less discomfort through there, but the flexion remained the same. The left knee crunches, no left knee crunches this time around. Very sore lower back. We went from the top all the way down to the bottom with the normal pressure that we would apply, which is around about light for this dog, and there were no sides, there were no spasms that are obviously there each time that we actually see him. So I applied medium pressure this time. I still didn't get anything. I wasn't going to cause him discomfort just for the sake of it, so I didn't go any harder. And his glutes were really sore the last time, so this time when we saw him, they weren't so sore. He was a lot happier. Now, in terms of this dog's brightness and personality, you could actually tell that he was a lot happier in himself. So that's one of the first things that people who are having their dogs on Antinol will actually say, is that the dogs are just seeming brighter. Another really key indicator for this dog is typically when he would sit, it would be a sloppy sit, the legs, the knees would be going out, and this time when he sat, nice tight sit. Now this isn't the only time that I've seen that on a dog as well. During the trial phase, another dog that is older, also a Border Collie who has had a lifetime in agility, his sit was terrible. It was just very messy and sloppy, and the dog itself, and although he seemed like he led a happy life, he kind of seemed to have lost that spark. And the next time I saw him, and I think he'd only been on the Antinol for 4 weeks, he had this beautiful tight sit, and I remember saying to the owner, he sat down, and I hadn't even asked him to do anything. I went, what is going on? Like, he's sitting properly. The owner hadn't actually told me that he had started the Antinol trial, so that was the first thing that I noticed, because normally I was like, oh, this dog sits terrible, and that's a pretty good indicator of what, you know, the dog's feeling. So he was sitting really nice and tight. There weren't legs going everywhere, looking really sloppy and sitting back on himself. And he had this spark. He was naughty. He was kind of naughty. He was cheeky. And there is nothing that warms my heart more than seeing an older dog who's naughty, because that kind of means they're feeling pretty good about themselves, right? So that is what I was really happy with. So these stories are constantly coming in about these older dogs that are getting these new leases on life. And if there are no long-term side effects, there are no contraindications, we don't know anything else negative that is occurring here, why not give this a go? It's not incredibly expensive compared to Lipronol, the human supplement. Antinol is more expensive, okay? Now, although they can seem the same, the actual processing is apparently different. There have been reports that some dogs that have started with Antinol and then gone to the human version have actually experienced some different symptoms of maybe got itchy or scratchy, or it just wasn't as good as what the Antinol was. So even though the active ingredient and maybe the ingredients themselves seem exactly the same, something to do with the processing may actually be different. Okay, human versus animal processing, we don't actually know. Okay, so if you decide to just go ahead and give your dog Lipronol, the human version, that is actually going to be up to your discretion and your risk, okay, because it's not actually created for dogs. You know, you don't know if it's safe and reliable and appropriate, okay. So far, look, this is getting the thumbs up from me. And normally when I see a dog and it's really starting to have some issues with arthritis, but a lot of different management processes in place, cartrophin injections are usually one of the first things that we usually recommend. They don't have a lot of terrible side effects versus some of the other arthritic medications. But now we have Antinol, green lip mussel. That's just a kick-ass version, like the superhero of green lip mussel. Why not give this a go, right? The only unfortunate thing about Antinol is it's a vet-only channel, which is incredibly annoying given that this is a supplement and not a drug in terms of a medication. So it should just be available over the counter anywhere. So I'd love to just be able to have it here and be able to sell it to clients. So you actually have to go to your vet. Not all vets are going to stock it because they may not actually order from the supplier that actually stocks this, which is Senvit from memory. So as I mentioned before, if your vet can't get it or they're charging an absolute fortune for it, check out the details in the video, because I'll give you the details of a Sydney vet that is happy to sell this to you at a very reasonable price. They also have a deal going at the moment, and they're also happy to post, I think it's $10 postage to anywhere in Australia. Okay, although I can't answer specific questions about product knowledge and things like this about Antinol. If you have any questions, do speak to your vet, do speak to the suppliers of Antinol. I don't receive any kind of funding or benefit from talking to you about Antinol. It's simply a product that seems to be doing really, really well, seems very safe, and it doesn't seem that expensive. So something to consider. All right, guys, good luck with your older dogs, and remember, just because you don't want to medicate your dog who is limping and obviously has arthritis is actually suffering with their quality of life. Okay, so to give your dog quality of life, you really need to address their arthritic issues, and there's a number of things that you can do to help these dogs. If you want to know more about that, post below. All right, guys, thanks heaps.